Hello everyone, this is just going to be a general chat about all things Python. First thing I want to cover is the date has arrived for the publication and the purchase of The Art of Clean Code, Best Practices to Simplify Life. We know what they mean. The Art of Clean Code, if you've watched some of my older videos, you'll know that I used to, and I still do, regularly refer to Python one-liners and yeah, even the going back in the day to the automated boring stuff and Python crash course. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention this because it's been kind of released, or not released, but it's been talked about or advertised, should we say, for a while. But the day has finally arrived. I think it was actually available to purchase. Published date 2nd of August 2022, paperback, 23.74. This is in the UK from a uk.bookshop.org. You see they're generated for local bookshops. They're kind of, I think they're kind of trying to stick it to Amazon, which I'm really in favour of. So, that yeah, I won't go down that particular rabbit hole, but yeah, that book's available, and I think it's probably going to be a very good book. So I'll be doing a kind of I'll be having a read through it when it arrives. I think it's due tomorrow, and I'll have a read through it, and then I'll do a review maybe. I might even do an unwrapping video. Let me know if you'd like to see that. So yeah, The Art of Clean Code. I've read chapter 2, which was a sample chapter, and yeah, it was spot on. It talks about a lot about the 80-20 principle, which is obviously highly talked about, but in regard to coding, then it's a bit more specific. So next thing I want to talk about, just while it's still current in my mind, is I don't know about you, but when you upload something to GitHub, I really like these little badges. They just look nice in your readmes. You can only get them, or you should only get them, if you've run some GitHub workflows, run some GitHub actions. The lint, what did the lint? I don't know if I actually ran that in the end. What did I do? Don't think it did very much in the end. This one, which is Python app, you can get all of these. If I go to .github and let's go to actions, you can add ready-made actions. I've actually forgotten where you add them from. Anyway, the bit I was going to talk about really was, I did it's in my other video, I'll find it, but yeah, I don't know where it's gone. Right, the actual code that the actions run is not in here. That's just the workflow. So go into workflows and actually go into that file. And yeah, the bit I just quickly wanted to cover was I was getting pytest module not found errors, and it was giving me a failure, so then I didn't have my badge. Python space -m for modules, pytest. Previously, it was just pytest on this line, on line 33. So although you can get off-the-shelf workflows, you can still come in and modify them. So you can see it's Python 10, sets it up. This is Ubuntu box, it's firing up. Yeah, Ubuntu latest. So it's doing all this on the GitHub servers, and then it's running Python from the command line on the GitHub Ubuntu server instance, Python -m pytest. Then it runs, and it runs successfully, and you get a tick. That's really ugly on your GitHub profile when you don't have that green tick. Just, I don't know, looks unprofessional, doesn't it? So that was my URL shortener. You may or may not have watched that video. If you haven't, shame on you. Yeah, 3 things just going to quickly cover. I've spoke about FastAPI in the past 2 videos. The documentation is, there we go. The green badges where they're not rear their pretty heads again, shall we say. FastAPI is just amazing. If you've not experimented with it, what have you been doing? Yeah, so just a quick kind of, not a moan, but just a quick kind of comment about FastAPI. Many people seem to do videos about CRUD, create, read, update, delete with an API. And that's not entirely the purpose of an API. I mean, if you remember 20 years ago, you could create, read, update, delete with PHP and MySQL. So it's not really, anyway. If you want to write an API, you're better off doing something like this. You have some functions. You see here, let me just zoom in a bit. So you can see here I've got tests and I've got functions. Oh, sorry. That's my code, and that's my tests. Yeah, and inside my main folder I've got functions, I've got main, I've got a demo file, and I've got a code runner file, which I should actually modify vscode to hide those because there's no need to see those really. Yeah, so functions file, and this is actually some other code that I found on GitHub, which I've just kind of modernized slightly because it didn't have f strings and I was getting linting errors and so on. I've just changed the return so that it returns, rather than return a string of text to the user, I'm just returning an error number, which will become clearer down the line. But if it gives an error, if I get a conflict between two IP subnets, then I get a return code of 666. If the subnets don't overlap, then I get 123. So this is, I put all my functions in a file called functions.py. That's the link. Let me just take you there because the author deserves some credit. It's not me that deserves the credit for this. There we go. Check if two or more network subnets are overlapping. Nice badges again. So you put it in the two. You can also read the subnets. You can read the subnets from a text file as well, and there's various different. There we go, -f. But I might add that into my API in future. So the API I'm working on is using most of that. I'm also using, the code uses radix. If you try and install radix, you'll get an error. If you do pip install radix, you get no matching distribution found. If you do pip install py-radix, then it installs successfully. So yeah, just a little tip about that if you did plan on using the code. So those are just the functions. The functions could be any functions you want to incorporate into the functionality of your API and the endpoint. So ignore that. That's just me badly trying to test it. And this is me successfully trying to test it. Just need to pull that down a bit because I've made the screen so big. It's just we're gonna miss out some bits now. There we go. Just get that up a bit without losing that. Yeah. So as ever, the FastAPI UVcorn instance that you fire up on your local host will be port 8000. V1. So all this you can call whatever you want. I've called it V1 because you're supposed to give API's version numbers so that you can kind of write version 2 and then you don't have to break version 1. That can still work in the background for existing users. Check IP, it's just something kind of human friendly. This is the JSON content. So from the top, we've got a drop down here where we've got all the HTTP verbs. I'm using post because I'm sending a payload. If you send anything more than 256 characters, you need to use post and you need to use a payload. This actually isn't yet, but it potentially could be. And just post is better for this type of thing. If I click send, it sends this JSON content. So the JSON content, these this value and this value are what need to be passed to the function which the API is calling. So if we did change that subnet mask to /22, see how the error code's changed. It's now 666 because this subnet is inside of this subnet. Change it back to 24 and keep an eye on the bottom left. 1, 2, 3. That's a success. So yeah, this is really, really good. This saves messing about a postman. It saves you even going into Swagger. Not that there's anything wrong with the Swagger UI, because that's really handy as well. But yeah, Thunderclient, you can just install it as an just go to extensions and VSCode and install Thunderclient. I really wish I had this when I was doing lots of web scraping. It's just, and you can just look, it's there, and then you just go back. You can just go back across to your code, so you can just flip between. Or if you really wanted to, you could probably do a split right. And there we go, just get rid of that one. So yeah, you got your code there. Don't really need to see all your files. So you've got your code there. So now I can see my API endpoint. So then if I wanted to, I could just copy that and I could just paste that over there. Without the additional / because that would be stupid. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So Thunderclient, is very good, and it also supports GraphQL, which I'm just going to talk about shortly because I haven't tried it yet, but it's come to my attention and it's on my radar. And if anybody knows about it, wants me to do a video on it, would like to add a comment, then please do. Strawberry Rocks is basically a framework for working with GraphQL. Define a GraphQL schema using Strawberry. Run the Strawberry server that lets you execute queries against your schema. This tutorial assumes that you're familiar with the command line in Python and that you have a recent version of Python 3.7 plus installed. Strawberry is built on top of Python's data classes and type hints functionality. So again, very, very similar. What you've got there is quite similar to the code that you would use, again, data models from Pydantic import base model. So yeah, that's Strawberry Rocks, which I'll be doing soon, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed. Whilst on the subject of from Pydantic import base model, if anybody else has had this problem, then this will be of interest. My linter was shown an error. Because I've used poetry, I get a PyProject TOML. You just come down here and add these 2 lines. I was going to click the red dots there, just highlight it for debug, but there you go. You see those 2 lines? So you go tool.pylint.messages control extension -package whitelist equals Pydantic, and it's basically whitelisting Pydantic from any linting errors that you would get. I can't do the same here because, again, Pylint import error. It's showing an import error, but the code works, as you just saw with Thunderclient. And the tests work as well. So, famous last words. So Thunderclient, really great extension for VS Code, and testing, which is, did I install that? I think it's built in actually, but you just need to, if you haven't set it up, to make that icon appear, you need to go Python configure tests, pytest, and select the directory containing the tests. So then you choose tests. So I've only got 1 test here at the moment, so I need a slap on the wrist for not doing more tests really, but yeah. Now I've got it working, I'll go and write some tests. You didn't hear that. One thing I read about tests, you should also check for them. You should also check for failures. No point just checking for success. You need to check for failure and say, if these two subnets don't overlap, then don't show. Then they're not equal to failure. So if they're not bad, then they're not equal to the bad response. What else? Poetry, yeah. So poetry is being quite helpful now, and I'm using it more. So if you've not come across poetry, one of the good things about poetry is it actually takes you into your virtual environment. It does that very easily. You just do poetry shell. It saves you having to do the source bin / activate, then cd dash, then go back to where you were. And the other thing I think I mentioned in a couple of my other videos, which I'm just going to have to move this over here so that you can see it. But yeah, if you're running, the other good thing you can do with vscode is you can split. You can have two terminals down here at the bottom, and you can split. So I've got uvicorn running. So you can't Control C and run just to run your command, because you need uvicorn running as a process. So yeah, that's I know what that is. I shouldn't have clicked that one. I should have done. In fact, none of them. They all work, but they all work via the API. But I wish I hadn't done that. That's going to be a real anticlimax to the end of the video, isn't it? No, what you can do is you can split. So if you split terminal, Control-Shift-5. So then you can always see that your uvicorn or your web server is running. And then in this one, actually, if I fire up that and I redo, that's a really old request, isn't it? Why is that? Is it listing them in the correct order? I don't know what's happened there. I was hoping that it was going to remember. There we go. Post. I think I'd accidentally scrolled. So as you see, when I test with Thunderclient, because I've got this all integrated it's an integrated development environment. So that was across there. So let me just do it one last time, and then I'll wrap it up. So testing Thunderclient from within VS Code, send, and it's using a different port each time, isn't it? Or it did then. Yeah, it's going up. So it's at the moment 47540 on the last request. If I run another request, 47544. So yes, split terminal is really handy when you're trying to do stuff with FastAPI and you're running uvicorn or gunicorn. Yeah, so that's just kind of a bit of a ramble on various things. Poetry, FastAPI, GraphQL, GitHub, the art of clean code. And on that note, I'm going to leave you and wish you a nice day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe, thumbs up, comment, and all that stuff. Please, thumbs up as well. That's really important because of the algos. So, yeah, see you again.